Hey everybody, this is Orange County Executive Steve Neuhaus. I am so lucky and so excited to be here today. I'm in the beautiful Arboretum in Thomas Bull Memorial Park. It's such a beautiful setting, and look who I get to sit next to. It's such a pleasure, and it's Sergeant Major Mary Kay Messenger, our local rock star, look at this, look how great she looks. And she's just retiring. I know she's got some time on the books, but after so many years of blessing us with her voice, she's going to retire, but still continue to do this. So, Mary Kay, good morning. It's wonderful to see you here today.
Good morning, Steve. Good morning, everyone. It's great being here. Beautiful Arboretum, and basically my backyard.
Your backyard. We had so much fun when we talked about you, our Citizen of the Month, talking about your background, all the cool stuff you have, like some of the celebrities you met. And that's why we want to talk about this story. Who is Mary Kay? How did you get where you are? Where did you grow up? And share some of your great experiences. We picked this site because this is one that you are regularly speaking at, singing the national anthem, saying a few words, whatever. You're not a stranger to the Arboretum. So I think This is a great setting for us as a background.
It's beautiful here, yes. For many ceremonies that we've been together with, and happy times and some memorials that aren't so happy, but this place brings life to everything.
I think of when this morning as I was driving over here and I was like, okay, I'm going to see Mary Kay. And I remember on the left side of me was the late Senator Larkin. On the right was our retired Senator John Bonasek.
Yes.
And they're both singing the national anthem, which is wonderful, but not wonderful when you're the one singing. Because I just like lip sync when you're around because I don't want to ruin a song. I have a very distinct voice, and it's not good for singing.
No, I always ask everyone to sing because, especially our patriotic songs,
it's wonderful.
You want to bring it out. And as I say, everybody sounds great in the shower, but as a chorus, when everybody sings, the voices blend together, and
you'll drown out the bad ones. Then that's what you're saying. Okay.
The microphone helps.
Okay. So, where were you born, and where are you from, and how did you get to Orange County? And then let's talk about how did you get to the U.S. Army?
Well, born in Newburgh, New York, 1 November. Well,
yeah, we don't
need to go that. But born to a family. My father is Jim Hollenbeck. His family owned a roofing company in Newburgh, New York, and my mother was an Aloja, Mary Aloja, and they owned Sally's Fish Market, which is recently a couple years ago.
I know these names are legendary. When I went to Mount St. Mary. And I graduated. I worked for the
city. My alum
too.
See?
So I worked for the city of Newburgh, and one of the first things I was tasked to do was fix a roof. I don't know how to fix a roof. Hollenbeck came and did the roof for us. Yep. And obviously, you know Sally. So what a great connection there. So keep going. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. That's my godfather. My mom was a twin. Lou Aloja was a music teacher at NFA, Newburgh Free Academy, for the longest time. So music does run in the family. Though we used to tease my mom because she had a nice voice, but could never remember words. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer definitely had a different version when she sang it, but it was fun. We always picked on her.
Huh.
But I grew up in Newburgh, and so you have two families that knew a lot of people. They were working class families in the city, so they got to know a lot of people. As a kid, you did not have a choice. If you were having a bad day, your parents would, when you're little, holding your hand going to a store, and they see someone and they squeeze your hand because if you're not smiling or being polite.
Yes.
So you just grew up being very respectful. And also at the time in Newburgh, I went to a Catholic school, St. Francis, but finally in high school, I was able to fight my way because at the time there was no busing to go from Newburgh to Goshen.
Okay.
So my mom and dad finally caved. They said, okay, you can go to NFA. So I went to NFA, but sometimes I would walk home and we'd laugh because there were no cell phones at the time. But if you did anything wrong, from that walk from NFA to 92 Mill Street is right next to the fish stores where I grew up, you would know. Somebody would say, I saw you, what were you doing there? You weren't supposed to be there. So you always respected your family. You didn't want to do anything wrong because you didn't want to bring disgrace to the family.
Absolutely.
That's the Italian part of me. Italian, German, Scotch, Swedish, Dutch.
And you got my mind's all over the place because I was in Newburgh yesterday by the San Miguel Academy and went by Sally.
That was St. Francis. And St. Francis is now San Miguel Academy. That was St. Francis of Assisi School. It went from K to 9.
Amazing.
I mean K through 8.
And then you talk about the Italians. We have the Italians here in 2 or 3 weeks. You're going to sing the national anthem in Italian, which apparently you said you knew or you're just brushing up on?
I had done that being in the military and with the band. We do a lot of foreign dignitary events, especially when the UN's in session in the city. And over the years, I had the opportunity to sing the Italian anthem, the Polish anthem, the Japanese anthem, the Swedish anthem, and to get to meet their dignitaries from the country, the Canadian anthem in French.
Which was the most difficult you ever had to do?
Actually, the most difficult, well, the Italian, I wouldn't say it's so much difficult. It's like 3 different songs in one.
Okay.
It starts out with this nice intro, and then it comes in with a chorus, and then there's another interlude in the chorus. So when you're singing it a cappella, you have to put it all together.
Wow, that's great.
And
okay, I'm looking forward to that. I'm sure it's going to be out there for the public to enjoy too.
Oh, it'll be fun.
So you're a young little girl. You finally convince your parents to let you go to NFA. You're walking back and forth. Everybody's watching your moves, but you also have this crazy habit of singing since you were a little girl, right?
Yes.
Should all the acquaintance be forgot, our old anxiety.
And actually, I have 2 older brothers, Jim and Chris Hollenbeck. They were busy with sports. They would bring their friends back after practice, and they'd eat. You know, my mom had a house and home, but she loved it. You know, being Italian, she always had a lot of food. So my brothers would have me in the middle of the table, and they'd say, sing and dance and do that. I thought they were trying to enhance my career. They were trying to make fun of me, not knowing that at the time. But their friends actually enjoyed it. So every time they'd come back, hey, can you sing this? Can you sing that? So I started learning songs. And same thing in church. I would go to church, and in the Roman Catholic Church, and not everyone sings aloud like in other denominations. And I remember singing as a little girl, and I'd get the shh, the choir sings from the older generation in the church. So I'd go up to the choir, and they're like, oh, you're too young to sing in the choir. So this organist at the time, who's no longer with us, but Mr. Julius Barkai, said, I have an idea. We can put you as a leader of song. You can announce the hymns and sing from the front of the church. It was St. Francis, a pretty big church, has a delay. See, that trained me for my career, you know, singing in amphitheaters later.
Wow.
But you got used to a delay, and that's how that started. Singing in church led to singing for weddings, because I would stay and I volunteered. I just wanted to learn, and would sing for weddings and funerals, community events. That's how I met most people from church. Started in church, ball games, and I get into the Army, and I ended up doing pretty much similar things, doing more concerts, but also it's like came full circle.
Did you, so then you go from NFA, did you go right to Mount St. Mary?
No, I was supposed to go to, I auditioned for a bunch of musical theater schools, and Carnegie Mellon was one that I was planned to go to. And right before my, after graduation, I lost my voice.
Really?
It was a chemical imbalance.
See, this is why we're doing this, because people need to hear this, because you had some difficulties. I didn't even know. When we were talking at Trophy Point, we heard so many different stories, all the people that are with us here today, and some of your team, that we didn't know about you. And people need to know this, that you didn't just come to you.
Right. No, I mean, part of it did, but you had to work at it.
Yeah.
You know, I was this little girl belting out, you know, tomorrow, and wanting to be on stage. Well, I did find my voice teacher, who also passed away, Walter Blazer, and his wife Mia. He used to play the piano for me, but he taught me technique. But still,
that's how it came back.
Yeah, but as it came back through technique and medicine. It was a vocal. It was not a disease. I didn't develop properly growing up, so it affected the vocal cords.
Okay.
And it just one day I could sing, and the next day I got up, I was like, oh, just air came out.
Wow.
So that had a lot of mental, because my voice was me, and if I couldn't sing,
of course,
you know, I attribute it to if I couldn't sing, nobody would want me. So
wow.
So I I went through medicine. I didn't go to vocal performing school. I went away to University of Bridgeport because this happened August, right when people were starting to go to school.
Right.
So University of Bridgeport took me because my teacher could give me lessons and I get vocal credit,
Okay.
and he could watch me, and we just took a bunch of electives. Well, University of Bridgeport's not really known for its vocal school, and it also made me realize I didn't want to go to school for vocal performance. I figured I'd go for business. So I came back home and ended up at Mount St. Mary College and ended up graduating there.
And still sang on the side.
Still sang on the
Yeah.
side, worked for my father's business, did his bookkeeping. My voice had gotten better, so I sang for a band, Dr. Magneto, a celebration band actually, Mark Gamma. So we did a lot of weddings and parties, did weddings, funerals, and I worked at Benora's Pier 9, because as a kid I used to work in Perkins.
Yeah.
So I had all these jobs. I just loved being busy, and I would sing at Joe Benora's place. Weddings would come in, and Joe would say, okay, Mary Kay, during dinner, just get the plates on the table. But I understand, because I knew bands coming in, and I would sing with the bands, or I'd sing at the table. And having a name like Mary Kay, I'd go and I'd just be an icebreaker at the beginning. I'd say, hello, I'm your server for the night. And by the way, if you want to order Mary Kay Cosmetics. I didn't sell it. It was a friend of mine. It was just a opening
icebreaker,
line
yeah.
just to say, hey, we're going to have fun tonight.
Yeah.
So that's, you try to find the more positive things in life.
So how does the uniform happen?
The uniform, well,
So you're working all these different jobs, and I know all these names like Gamma and Benora. They're all legendary Newburgh names. But so how did you end up joining in the Army and singing for the Army?
it was actually this Laurel Schmidt. She was a clarinet player with the West Point Band, who also sang, because at the time they didn't have a vocalist for the band. They just used people that were in the band that could sing, but they were primarily instrumentalists with the concert band. So she was substitute teaching at one of my rehearsals for choir, and she heard me sing. And Annie was big that year. The commander, Colonel Ron McCowan, was looking for a local talent to sing an Annie medley that they were making. And she thought I would be a great, I fit the bill. I lived in the area, the connections to the military, because my father was in the military. And so I sang for him, and he said, you're gonna sing.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with light from above.
Actually, when I sang for him, I had a bad neck.
Oh, really?
I had to go to the chiropractor, but I looked deformed. So when I sang, he's like, beautiful voice, but we need to work on your posture. I'm like, sir, I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I need to go see the doctor. And I ended up singing. I was 12 years old and sang for their Labor Day end of summer concert.
Where was that, outside at Trophy
Outside
Point?
of Trophy Point.
Wow.
And
That's where it all started.
it all started, and I sang a medley of Annie, starting out with Tomorrow and ending with the NYC, and did I Am Woman as an encore. It was a last minute thing. I went to rehearsal, they're like, we don't have an encore. And I was tiny. I didn't hit my growth spurt until later.
Wow.
Said, here I am singing with this little Dorothy Hamill haircut, because the Olympics are big. You know,
Yeah.
And singing my heart out. And that colonel and other colonels invited me to come back to sing for different concerts. And it was Colonel David Dietrich. Back in 1995, I sang for 2 concerts with him. He worked with someone on post to create a vocal position. And it was only going to be a 3-year position, because they didn't know if it would stick, if there would be enough vocals to do.
Right.
And so I auditioned, I was able to get the part, and I said 3 years and I'm out. Now my father, who is he was in Korea. He was a army medic in Korea.
Wow.
And never talked about it. But he was the one who said, someday you'll be a sergeant major. I said, Dad, I'm in for 3 years.
Wow, that's
I'm in for
crazy.
3 years and out. Well, 28 and 7 months and counting. And when I did get promoted, I did use the line at my promotion to sergeant major, like, my dad was right. I'll be in for 3 more years and then out. but it's been a little longer than that.
And they didn't just slap a uniform on and say start singing. You had to go through boot camp. You went to Fort Jackson, right?
Fort Jackson, Columbia, South Carolina. It was a fun experience. It's sort of like Private Benjamin, if you've ever seen the movie.
Yeah,
I'm dating
that was a
myself
great
now.
movie, Goldie Hawn.
But it was a mixed basic training, and I got, I'm a friendly person, so I'd like to get to know people when the drill sergeants aren't around. So got friendly with a few people. I'm like, when they're not around, just call me Mary Kay. You know.
Yeah.
You don't call anybody by their first name.
Yeah.
And one day we're doing laundry, and one of my friends said, "Hey, Mary Kay, I can do this for you." And a drill sergeant came around and said, "Mary Kay, who's Mary Kay?" And everybody got in trouble. And,
Oh no.
But I was always getting people in trouble in a good way. Basic training was interesting. They found out, I was told when I went to basic training not to tell them my MOS. So I just said, I don't need to know my MOS, because if I don't know it, I can't be held accountable. First day there, they took everything away from us, sat us down, and wanted to know our MOS and to know if we were related to anybody of importance in any military.
Really?
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know my MOS. It's just 42 Sierra, but all I remember.
Was that a brand new MOS?
It was a special bands MOS.
Okay.
So all I knew, I was a special bands person. So I had gotten up and I told them, I'm not sure of my MOS, but I know I'm a special bands person, and that went over well. Oh, you're special. What's so special about you? And I couldn't lie. I had to tell them I had a relative that was a retired colonel from the Army, and also my brother-in-law was a CSM in the Army, in the engineers. So
did that help you, hurt you, or did they make you sing all the time? Like,
they ended up, they found out I could sing. And how they found out I could sing was during we had a class on military form and patriotism. So they were asking everyone to sing the patriotic songs. National anthem was one of them. So when it came time for everybody to sing, no one, including me, we weren't singing out. We were just trying to stay under the profile. And our drill sergeants were upset because it wasn't just our platoon. We were together with the brigade. So they're like, if we don't hear you sing with pride to the top of your lungs,
oh boy,
everybody's going to get in trouble. Well, I didn't want to get in trouble. I didn't want to have to do more push-ups than I needed to or run more miles.
So green light's on for you.
I sang, and then I had all these drill sergeants around me saying, special messenger. So they called me the special mess singer.
Oh, geez.
So they spelled it MESSINGER.
That's awesome.
From that day on, I was pulled out to sing certain songs. Drill sergeants from other platoons giving me recordings that I'm not supposed to listen to, but they gave me a little CD player or tape player so I could listen to the song, and they would say, one day we're just going to call you out of the blue, and when we say this word, you sing.
Wow, that's wonderful.
And they did.
See, that's pretty cool.
So it was interesting. I'm on Victory Tower coming down, they stopped me. Sing! No. And everything I tried to do to get down, or they had control. So I would sing. It was fun.
So boot camp, I mean, everybody has that day in boot camp, like, what the hell did I sign up for? Did you have that?
Oh, yeah. I was like, 8 weeks couldn't go by quick enough. I mean, it was a total more like 10 and a half weeks, because you had reception and you had to wait to go in. And there were times I'm like, why am I here? But I also had motivation prior to going in. My mom had a bad accident back on November 30th, 1995. And I remember she was supposed to come with me to my voice lesson that day in the city. I just got my cell phone. Cell phones were fairly new. She decided not to come. She had errands to do.
Yeah.
So I get a call after my voice teacher lesson, and I was going to go to the city, because I remember Monsignor Budwick.
Yeah.
He was being ordained as a Monsignor in New York City, and I was going to go to them. Never made it. My father's calling me. Your mom's in an accident. So I'm thinking, fender bender. And now his phone is breaking up, but actually it was my father breaking. I thought it was the phone.
Wow.
My father is a big 6'4" guy, and he just lost it on the phone. And my uncle got on the phone. He said, meet us at Westchester. I had no idea what was happening. So didn't even know how to get to Westchester at the time, and just flying, typical Hollenbeck thing, we speed. And finally get to Westchester, and we weren't sure. She was in bad shape.
And that was before you go to boot camp, or what?
Before, and I even, when I get a call from my commander to be, he's like, if you need to delay your entry more, we understand, because it hit the news. Everyone knew before I did. My mom, it was in the paper, and it was also on the local news, and she held up traffic. Thank God. Yeah, she's with Dad now, but it was touch and go. And I didn't hear her voice from the day I left, November 30th, 1995, to when they pulled me out of training in March.
Wow. Before
I graduated, they said, we have a phone call for you, because they knew the situation, and it was my mom.
Oh.
So anytime things were bad, I thought of her being, because she still had a tube, she didn't talk, and she had...
as bad as it is for you.
She broke her neck and everything down.
Wow.
Her hip, her ribs. So she was out of commission for a while.
So as bad as it was for you in boot camp, it was nothing what your mom was
Right.
going through.
I just kept saying,
I
slap myself in the face and say, come on, wake up. This is nothing what your mom's fighting for. So that made it a lot easier to go through. And the mental games, because I was doing my own mental games.
And you were older, like you and I were talking. I joined. I think I was in my late 20s. You in your late 20s, so you kind of like, they call you Grandpa and Grandma at that point.
That is true.
Because they're all 18-year-old kids. But you kind of know how the world works a little bit at that point.
Yes.
So, did they end up getting to your graduation? Your parents?
My mom was still in the hospital.
Okay.
She didn't come home until, the end of June.
Okay.
So she left the house November 30th. And that year she bought all her Christmas presents early. She never did that. We told her, don't do that ever again.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
So, and we had the tree up, because after Thanksgiving we put the tree up.
Absolutely.
So everything was set the way she left the house. So I came home, and it was actually, I sang my first concert. She was still in the hospital, but my father and my husband Dave came down.
So you get out of boot camp, and then are you released to the Army world? Are you assigned to a specific area, or like you got to bring this girl all over the place?
I signed right to West Point.
Great.
To my unit, and the funny thing is, because I grew up in the area, so now we get a sponsor that takes us through and shows us where to go. But I grew up in the area, so I knew most people on post.
Okay.
They're like, oh, Mary Kay will do her thing. Some things never change.
So they already had your number.
Yes.
So they would just now you're just legit. You got a uniform on.
Legit, and when we have people come through, we have more training. It's like months of training before they actually start performing.
Okay.
But in my case, I performed within the next couple of weeks. I was on the next concert, and we support the Corps of Cadets. We do the community concerts, memorials and ceremonies, and then they put me in operations, because I wasn't considered a marching band person. I didn't have an instrument to play.
Yeah.
So I worked at band operations early on, and then worked my way up the ranks with operations, and got to know a lot of people from phone calls and doing jobs and bringing missions back, and creating more work for the band, which is always good.
So a lot of people see you. You look great. You're wearing this uniform, sharp, representing the country. You're performing. Do you get to have fun? So the presidents are coming there, and all different dignitaries from all over the place. Are they able to like shake their hand, or are they just walking by you and they're just clapping from a distance? Do you get a chance to interact with some of these people?
I get a chance to interact. Yeah,
I'm
great. I'm fortunate in the band, because being, as they put it, like a front person, you're always out there, and we're public relations anyway with the band for the Army.
Yeah.
But being the front person, you're always out talking to people, and I mean, it's a job. I basically ended up doing a job that is me.
Yes.
Like, I love people. I love talking to people. I love volunteering. Even my husband will say, "You say yes to everything." I said, "I know it's part of me. Sometimes I have to learn to say no, but
yeah.
It just transformed into something I love to do for a career. And granted, there's always things that you don't like about certain jobs, but on the whole, I was doing what I love to do. So I got to meet people, got to meet famous people, generals, veterans from all over, and some of them became very good friends, like the General Odierno, who passed away. His family, I was just talking to Tony the other day, and his mother, Linda. I got to know them over time from Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
And not only West Point, because General Odierno would come to West Point a lot, but we actually stayed in the suite many times, because he was a big Yankee fan, and his son worked for the Yankees when he came back from his deployment and got out of the Army.
Wow.
The official vocalist of the West Point Band, Master Sergeant Mary Kay Messenger. She will now sing God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, wide with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet
The Yankees came in and like, do you mind if General Odierno comes in your suite? I'm like, it's not my suite. It's, you just put me here. It's a
Yeah.
Yankee suite. And of course, I love General Odierno to come in. And at the time, I wasn't singing. I was singing the God Bless America. So I wasn't in my uniform. I was in casual clothes.
Okay.
So it was from that meeting we got to know one another from many jobs after that. And he was like family.
Wow.
And he reminded me of my dad. Big guy, gentle giant. Like you see these people, and everybody, it's like, oh, you have respect for them, but they're people. They're
Right,
human
right.
people who like to take care of their, especially generals, their soldiers. They want to hear your concerns. So
The good ones.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so they would be on post a lot. And I remember one time breaking ranks as we were going to an all generals conference that General Odierno was speaking at, and he was getting out of the car, and I just ran up. I broke the Secret Service guys.
Oh, gosh.
I'm like, sir, and he goes, Mary Kay, and my sergeant major's behind me, and my boss like, only Mary Kay. But it was that friendship we had. I wasn't doing it out of disrespect. I just wanted to see him before he went in to say hi to the family. And then he noticed I had a cast on my arm because I had some surgery, and he starts talking. How's everybody? How's the family? How's your arm? And
It's a
that's
down-to-earth guy.
Down to earth, and that's how most of them are.
So
General Dempsey, General Casey,
Yeah.
General Milley, though he didn't graduate from West Point. General Caslin, just great people, and their wives and families.
They are. I've gotten to meet some of them, and they come back, like you said, which is great. So some of the most amazing people you met, like that you were like starstruck with, or some of the people that you met in your career. I know we met. I'm not going to mention a name yet, but because I had this conversation,
I know.
but I want the people to hear it.
Oh, well, I'll get to him. But Harry Connick Jr. was one.
That's awesome.
I asked him to sing with me at the closing bell, and he goes, "You don't want me to sing with you?" And I'm like, "What do you mean I don't want you to sing?" And his agent's like, "No, you don't want him to sing God Bless America." I was like, "I love Harry Connick Jr.," but he mouthed it, but he didn't sing. But very, very nice gentleman. He talked about he didn't go into service, but his family went in service, and it was very important to be there that day. They were honoring veterans.
It's funny you mentioned that Harry Connick Jr. wouldn't sing it, and I'm not saying this, but Jon Stewart, the comedian, I was on.
I met him too.
Well, I was on the Capitol steps in Washington with him. We were advocating for post 9/11 cancer treatment for firefighters and first responders. It was being debated down there, and they had a famous female singer. I think she was from the Mamas and Papas, and she was supposed to lead us with the national anthem. She gets 30 seconds into it, forgets all the words. And I think, and I've seen that a lot,
Yeah.
because I see all these events, unless you nail it all the time. But I was at one recently where somebody just started humming it because they forgot the words. But at that one event with Jon Stewart, everybody's looking at each other, hundreds of people, and the whole crowd started singing it and filled in the words. But I'm sure, like when you give somebody, like I would faint if somebody came up like you and said, "Let's sing the national anthem together," even if I'm some rock star like that, Lady Gaga or
Yeah.
Harry Connick Jr. I'm like, "Oh no, I got sore throat today," because I've seen people. It's in the news this week that somebody screwed it up last month, so it happens a lot.
Yeah, it does, and it is a fear. God,
You've never had that fear?
love you, Mom. My mom would say, "You don't have the words," because when I used to sing in church, I used to have the words just as a backup plan. And one day I didn't have the words, and she goes, "You're going to forget the words." I'm like, "No, I'm not, Mom." Sure enough, not that I forgot the words, but I started out with, "Who's brought stripes and bright stars?" I'm like, oh, so I repeated it twice, and of course I get off and off the little stair that they put me on, and my mom goes, "I told you." I'm like, "Mom, don't do that." So there's always that fear. You go through it constantly in your head, and I always figured the worst case scenario, if that ever happened, because I always ask everyone to join, but I just pull the mic away and have everybody sing.
That's wonderful.
They do that at the Jets now. That was
great.
their new way. The owner, and it started 2 years ago where they had someone sing and they actually forgot the words. So the gentleman pulled the mic away and did the hand gestures for everyone to
Wonderful.
sing, and the whole stadium sang.
Yeah.
So now, the last time I sang for the Jets, they warned me. They said, you just keep singing, we're going to just shut the mic on you.
And the crowd
And when
will
we shut the mic, raise your hand, and we want the crowd to sing. So it did work. It's just you're not sure when they're going to shut that mic off, and you hear yourself coming through the stadium, then you hear nothing other than here, and I was afraid of making a mistake then.
You mentioned that you sang at the Jets. I know you've been to all these different cool places around the world.
Yeah.
One thing you did, you actually sang and performed in China.
Yes. China, this is going way back. It was the first military-to-military contact that anybody had with the Chinese Republic.
And you said they were nice to you, right?
Oh, we were like rock stars. We get off the plane. We couldn't bring the whole band because of financial. And also they wanted us there for a few weeks, and we could only stay for a lot amount of time. But it was my commander, Colonel Rotundi, saxophone player Wayne Tice, and a euphonium player who was also a narrator and wrote his own music, Jason Hamm, and myself. So we all had different roles to play. But when we had gotten off that plane, you would swear it was like
the Beatles?
The Beatles. They had flowers, they had cameras, the press. Meanwhile, we were being watched the whole time.
Yeah, I'm sure, yeah.
And they took us everywhere. They treated us like rock stars, and it was amazing.
You must have some, I hope you have a great, we call them, a giant shadow box on steroids at home with all your places you've been to. And I mean, some of the people you and I know that are no longer with us, and I've seen you perform locally, it's just phenomenal memories. Here at this location, the Armory.
Yes.
Just amazing stuff. So you meet Harry Connick Jr., a couple other famous people just to throw out there.
Gary Sinise is another
Wonderful.
Great guy. He's also a friend.
Did you ever perform with him?
Yeah, we did a Year of the NCO concert, and I was producing that. I was tagged with producing that, and so I got to know him pretty well.
Very cool.
And he would call the house, and of course my kids were young at the time, and they would pick up the phone and scream across the house.
Oh, God.
"Mom, Gary's on the phone." I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry." So unprofessional, and he's like, "No problem." And we would talk about the concert, then family things, got to know one another when he had gotten here. Then he reached out and asked me to sing for his concert he was doing up in Albany. Because Gary doesn't sing, he plays bass with his band, and he just loves people and getting everyone, and a good cause.
Great American. I remember he got the Thayer Award a few years ago. It was such an honor to meet him.
Yes, and he's coming back to West Point. There's a concert September 8th, just this year. And so I got to know him through there, and it's a shame his son just passed away not too long ago. And we reached out to him, and he sent a nice note back to everybody who kept him in his prayers. So you become
friends with these guys?
You do. You become friends. They're down-to-earth people that, like I tell my kids, because sometimes you go to places like, I don't feel comfortable around people. I'm like, why? Everybody's got different stories, different journeys, and how they got there, but they're people. And you have to give everybody a chance, no matter where they're from.
Is there anyone, like, as you're in uniform, everybody's expecting you to behave yourself, everybody's looking at you, you got higher ranking officers. Is there anyone you're like, where you drop it like, oh my God, it's Michael Jackson, or oh my God, it's Bruce Springsteen, or
I was going to come around to Bruce Springsteen.
Was that one where you got like that? Like, I don't care, I'm going to break protocol, I'm going to say hello to this musician that's coming in here?
Well, actually, he was in a room where we were not auditioning, warming up for an event that he hosts every year with the Bob Woodruff Fund.
Wonderful.
During Comedy Central time in New York City, and he invites veterans, a lot of generals, and they raise awareness for veterans and veteran projects.
Wonderful.
Roger Waters.
Yeah.
Is another that my husband was there with me, and he's like, Roger Waters. I'm like, who's that? He goes, you don't know who Roger Waters?
Oh boy.
So, and I did.
Yeah,
it's just, I had Bruce Springsteen on my mind when I saw Bruce there. So Bruce actually came right over because he saw the uniform and he wanted to say thank you. And then we had some nice photo ops. I think I showed you.
Yeah, that was cool.
The band actually posted some, and we started talking about family. And he asked me where I was from, and I told him. He says, "Oh, you're not far from where my son goes to school. He's going to Bard," and he was worried that his son. He was his youngest son, who, they needed to sort of light the fire under, make sure that he got up and made places on time, and he was a concerned parent. And here I am talking to Bruce Springsteen, and you think about all those rock days and the concerts and the people in his life, and he's a family guy and loves his kids. His daughter has 2 sons and followed them everywhere. With his schedule, he made the time.
Wow.
He's an amazing person.
And you gave him some parenting advice, he'll be okay.
He'll be okay. Right. And at that event with Jon Stewart.
Yeah.
And, Robin Williams, who I had met, God rest his soul, I met him at an event that I did out in California that I started, Sea to Sky Highway. It was for wounded veterans to start a cross-country trip from California to get all the way to Virginia. And they had invited him to the event, him and Arnold Schwarzenegger, because Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor.
Him too, or no?
Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't come. He had said he wasn't coming to the event, and they never heard from Robin Williams, so they just pictured not to show up. He showed up at the dinner before the actual event took off, and everyone swarmed around him. And he says, I'm just coming here. He says, this event is not about me. He says, that's why I didn't respond, because if I responded, then they would have probably put in the paper, Robin Williams is going to be, and he didn't want that. He wanted it to be about the veterans who, gave all, and some their body parts to what they served, their country.
Yeah.
So he came, and of course, he didn't want to stay for dinner, but they made him stay for dinner. Talk about somebody just getting up on cue.
The Mrs. Doubtfire, right, or something like that?
Yeah.
One of your colleagues told me some of the fun you had that night with him.
Oh.
What a great memory.
Oh, yeah, I went up to him. My husband's a cyclist, and Robin Williams was a cyclist. So when he shows up at this event, now it's Michael Strahan, all these comedians, and this British comedian, I can't think of his name right now, but they're all in the room together, and Michael Strahan just walked in, so everybody's like trying to get his autograph.
Yeah.
Then Robin Williams comes in quietly to the back, just surveying the audience. So I see him, and I go over to him, and I introduce him to my husband.
You're wearing this uniform?
Yes.
Okay.
Which
is nice. Yeah, like nobody can give you a hard
and I
time.
wasn't in this uniform when he met me.
Oh, okay.
I was in, because that event, they wanted the BDUs at the time.
Yeah, okay.
And I went to see him, and he remembered. He goes,
Wow.
I remember you from California. So I introduced Dave, and we're talking about cycling. And then that's when I brought up, I said, I have to ask you, how much of Mrs. Doubtfire was scripted? Or was that all off, ad lib? And then he went into character. When he went into character, the whole room, because he changed his voice, and he was the center. Then he started working jokes. Because that's what comedians do. They work their jokes in front of a small crowd, and if it works, they use it. If not, they're like, okay, that doesn't work. And he started with Mrs. Doubtfire, and Mrs. Doubtfire got X-rated.
Yeah.
And he said that's when we actually had to stop. They're like, okay, we need to pull you back now. But even on the film set, they gave him free rein.
What a good guy he was.
What a great guy.
And what a wonderful opportunity. You get to meet these people. I mean, you love what you do. You literally are one of those people that love what you do for a living.
Yes.
And then you get a chance. I could talk to you literally for 2 hours because you joined when it really wasn't wartime. Then you're in, you got stick time, you're doing all these things for the military. 9/11 happens. And then we have a 20-year period. You're singing at funerals,
Yeah,
memorials,
and I knew a lot of the people who passed away.
healing
sadly.
the country. Like you're singing at ball fields when, right, post 9/11, everybody was on edge.
On edge, but during that time, you see people actually getting together for a common cause. A horrific event, but especially for the couple weeks afterwards, there was no talk about politics. Everybody wanted to be on one team.
Yeah.
Politics always ends up getting in the way, but everyone was patriotic and believed in everything what we were doing, and we're still there today.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies to the ocean.
So I remember your career. I mean, it was during wartime where I got to know you, and every major event, whether it was for a memorial or for a patriotic event, it did not happen without you. You were part, when somebody conjured up some plan that we have to do this event or this event's happening, you were on the must-do list or we're not doing it. And it's really been a pleasure to work with you and see and just enjoy your talents, and I know everybody listening here feels the same way. We had so many positive Facebook comments of people that personally knew you, just saw you, never got a chance to meet you, but heard your voice. You've been able to touch so many tens of thousands, maybe millions of Americans. It's really an honor.
I always tell, especially today, the newer generations that are in the band, because everything today is about metrics and numbers. Said if you could just touch one person in your life, that's why I always go back to the veterans events, because you can literally touch their heart with either a song or a piece of music or just listening to them their stories, and it goes a long way, and you don't realize it. It's like a trickle effect, one thing after another.
I love seeing you sing the Armed Forces medley, and you see these random veterans, depending on what branch they served, and get up, and some of them can barely stand, and they do their best to stand up for their branch, and it's just a wonderful experience. So
I know it's the fight is in them. I wanted to bring back to like famous people, and I actually talked to Deb Timon. She's with the New York Yankees. Her and her staff called me to sing after the 9/11. Our first game back from 9/11, we had a whole patriotic halftime show, and it was that halftime show that led me to the New York Yankees to sing for one of their playoff games.
wow.
And from that relationship, meeting Deb Timon and Craig Cartmel and Greg King and the whole Yankee family, that led to so many other opportunities too. For singing multiple games, and then the World Series getting on TV led to the prayer breakfast down with President Obama, to a phone call with Senator Johnny Isakson that called me at work, said, "Hey, Mary Kay, this is Johnny."
Yeah, I love when people do that.
Johnny who? Johnny Isakson. Now, he's a senator from Georgia. I got to know him very well, and those events led to other bigger missions, and
Wow.
and meeting presidents, not even while they were in the White House, but after at events, Wounded Warrior events, meeting the Clintons and Tony Bennett, God rest his soul, and Cuomo's. And
I hope you have a great scrapbook like this. I told you, just every time I talk to you, it's a different slew of famous people and great experiences you had. Do you, as we wrap this up, this is not like your swan song because you're retiring from your service to the Army, but you're still going to be around here.
Correct.
And you're still going to do events.
Yes.
And you're going to still be wearing that uniform and representing us when you can, or do you like to sing with it or without it?
Both.
Okay.
Sometimes people like the uniform for certain events. After March 1st, even though I love this uniform, I don't think they'll let me keep it because it's an active duty uniform, but I can wear my AGSUs, which we call the new pinks and greens.
I love them. I told you that. I call them the Eisenhower.
Yes,
you guys call them the pinks
it reminds me of World War II.
I love it.
And so that I can wear for events.
This is great.
I can sing
I'm sure nobody's going to give you a hard time because you're not going to be singing it for a bad reason. You're singing it for knowing you. Your heart goes into helping everybody. So, but that obviously is your decision, and I'm not high enough ranking to make any type of.
Well, maybe you can. See, please let Mary Kay keep the concert band high collar.
Well, we have a couple generals lined up for my leadership series, all of them that are friends of yours, and I'm sure I can have them all pen one letter saying she can wear this. Don't give her a hard time. Thank you, Mary Kay. It's been a pleasure.
Oh,
and
thank
you're
you
such
very
a great
much.
person, and we have you singing in a couple weeks for the air show and welcoming our Italian friends, and we're working on some other cool stuff on the side with them. So I might need you, and I think your husband would like to be part of it with the Italian consulate, but we're just putting that together now. But
okay.
I really, on behalf of all the residents of this county and everybody you've touched across this nation, really appreciate what your great service and that legacy that you've really left here.
Well, thank you. It's been an honor, and I love doing what I do, and I love helping our community and worldwide.
Every little girl or boy that's watching this is, it's inspiring, and I'm glad we got to talk about where you lost your voice.
Yep.
That's a great period. So you made it, and look at you. You look fantastic. You got a wonderful career that you've had serving our country and improving society. So, Mary Kay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a
Thank you very
pleasure.
much.
Thank you for listening, folks.